Right, Ross?
Hey.
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 Just checking that you're awake and you're with
all
us. We're sharing the mic today, yeah?
We'll share the mic today, yeah.
Excellent.
Well, we'll just pass it between each other.
Got one.
And Andy, legs.
Close today.
Yeah.
Close today.
Yes.
I got told off for that last week.
Yeah. Did you get any comments?
Yeah, always the same.
No.
Always sit with my legs open.
No scroll shot.
If I do that, it looks a bit,
Yeah.
and I'll do that, it looks a bit, so I thought I'd just keep it like this.
Excellent. Welcome to the Pinnacle Pod, our second episode.
Yes.
The Pinnacle Performance Pod is our official podcast from Pinnacle Performance, space to share real stories, coaching wisdom, mindset shifts, and everything in between. It's not about shouting over each other, well, maybe sometimes, Ross. It's about honest conversations, practical insights, building a stronger community inside and outside the gym. I'm joined once again by Andy McGee and Ross McGowan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
Good. So last week when we had the pod, we were like, oh, let's share weekly learnings. So something like you've learned this week or something you picked up this week that sort of get the flow going. So who wants to go first this week?
Mine's not a learning for this week because you threw it on us so quickly that I couldn't think. So, but I have got a learning that I received from a 17-year-old about 10 years ago. I like to share my story here actually. I was playing a tennis match and this got to like a few games through and I looked up to this lad I was playing in some sort of box league at the Hampshire club and I asked him what the score was and he said that if you'd know the score, he said to me, you cared.
Oh.
And I sort of took that one on the chin then.
Yeah.
I thought that's a fair point, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you know the score, if you cared.
True.
And you know what? I don't know who this lad is.
So it was just some random guy.
I was playing in a box league in the Hampshire League. We were playing the match. I lost concentration. I asked him what the score was, and he said that to me, and I've lived by that.
Wow.
Ever since about 2016.
Wow.
And that goes to a lot of things in business, isn't it?
Oh, massively.
So,
If
and
you
there's no
know
point.
the score, if you cared, you'd know the score.
If you cared, you'd know the score.
Wow.
No point. I think we'll end it right there. But
I mean, my brain immediately went to business, and my brain immediately went to, knowing the numbers or understanding what was going on with your people or understanding what the challenges are. There's so many applications for that. I love that. That's a great learning.
And I take that I actually goes through my head everything that happens to me or has happened to me. I always think about that 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Educating me.
I guess it's a little bit about being aware of what's happening to you as well, rather than just letting things happen. And, I can't believe that happened. Well, if you knew what was going on and you were aware of it, you probably would know it was going to happen.
I was in a game, going about my business, doing my thing, with not a clue really with what was going on.
Amazing.
It wasn't about who was right or wrong.
Yeah.
It was just purely like, I'm gonna think about what's going on here.
Do you use it in your triathlons and road races?
All the time now.
Yeah.
Everything I do is because of that 17-year-old.
Give me an example when you're racing or when you're training. Like what's the real world example?
I think a real world in training would be getting up at, well, it's a bit more complex than that. I think a lot of the decisions you make in life are based off what people do or inflict on you in your life. And from a training perspective, when I wake up in the morning, I'm committed to doing what I'm supposed to do.
How do you know what you're supposed to do?
It's in a training plan.
There you go.
I do believe that if it's not written down or it's not down on something, piece of paper or on a training plan, that you actually are committing yourself to sabotaging what you feel you're going to do within that day.
I think it's coming back to because you care.
If you care, you'll write it down.
If you care, you'll know what's going on.
You'll note it down.
So
You'll put it in a Google meeting. You'll take it to a meeting. You'll take it to a friend.
You know what your training plan is.
You'll offload to a friend about what a situation is because you care about what's going to happen or what you want to happen.
Yeah. That's super cool. What a golden nugget to begin with. I mean, like, how do we top that one? I'm terrified to ask Ross what is.
Let's ask Ross. Ross, over to you. Well, over to you.
And now to bring the tone down a little bit. My learnings this week aren't as spiritually insightful as Andy's, I don't think. Mine is more on a personal level this week. I've realised I'm getting old very quick because I came across a random. It was I think a study, or I can't remember what it was, but apparently men age or their age accelerates at certain ages in their life.
What do you mean?
So like apparently at 21 you notice a difference just overnight.
Yeah.
Apparently 34, which I've just turned, again you sort of notice a big difference. I don't know how much truth there is to this, but going on off the back of I've just turned 34, I maybe there's some truth in this, because I'm just feels like I've aged significantly over the last however many weeks since I turned 34. Just my back is killing now when I go for a run, which I never used to do. My knees are given out because I've got like multiple issues with the knees, but the back is a problem when I'm running, and that never used to be the case. So I don't know what's happened at 34.
Is the same for women as well?
No, they just said men, and then the other age was like, I don't know, 40 something. I can't remember what it was, and then the other age was 65. But apparently, during those specific timelines, you age.
Or maybe you just notice the aging. Or
Yeah,
what like when you say you age, like what?
I didn't look into it too much more than that. I think it was quite a brief overview.
Did you look at it and go, "Oh my god"?
Yeah, I looked at it when I was 33, honest, knowing that my birthday was coming.
You are nowhere near like the midlife crisis.
I'm not.
So,
no,
and you're also, by comparison to the rest of the interview panel, a lot younger. So
yeah, it's the mileage, not the age.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What Indiana Jones said.
Have you had a lot of mileage then?
Yeah. I could probably do 2 knee replacements actually. Yeah. ACLs in 2 pieces in 1 knee, and then I've got fractured cartilage in this knee, which is sort of pressing on a nerve, which makes my knee numb.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It's been like that.
So what have you done? Is that rugby related?
They're both rugby related. Tore medial ligaments in this one as well. Tore the rec fem in this quad. Broke the leg down here.
You
broke
tore the
both
what
ankles. It's the rectus femoris, so it's the quad that runs up the center of the
big
leg.
muscle.
Yeah, let's go with that. The big muscle up the middle, that connects to your hip flexor, and that tore whilst I was rehabbing the injury for the broken leg and the medial ligament. Yeah.
I mean, so let's talk about encouraging people into rugby as a sport. Great.
Yeah,
great
I would
sport.
recommend it for kids, and then stop when you get to like, I don't know, 20.
Yeah, before you get to the first aging point.
Yeah, there you go.
There's the milestone.
Before 21.
Before 21, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what's been on your mind.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything about it?
Just carry on. Just ignore it and carry on.
Excellent. So now you know, but you're just going to ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
I think I like to pipe in with that, being a little bit older.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy. I think you just have to.
Hairs there, Andy.
I think you just have to. I think things happen to your body as you get older. You just have to be switched on enough to be able to fix it and get on with it.
Yeah.
You can't whinge about it. It just is what it is. I mean, we talk about injuries. I've got 16 screws, 2 rods down my right leg. I've got half a clavicle and half a finger.
I thought you were going to say you had 16 screws loose.
I probably do as well. Half a brain maybe as well.
Half a clavicle.
Yeah, got half a clavicle.
What's a clavicle?
Yeah, it's got a clav.
Ross.
Or a nickel.
Yeah, I broke my clavicle when I was in the army, so I've got that. It's sort of twisted, but
isn't that your collarbone?
Collarbone, yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. For those of you who are listening who are not.
Yeah, for sure. And the collarbone, right leg, all the way down my fib and tib, so the bone, the bone, sort of the shin bone, and the one on the other side, that's got loads of metal work as well. But you just, like you say, you just got to get on with it.
I would also like to point out that you made love to that then. I would like to point out as well, I had my biggest lifts in the gym since those injuries as well.
Yeah, so you're fine.
Yeah. So there is like 230 kilo squat with an ACL. Yeah, dropping some numbers.
Yeah.
With an ACL in 2 pieces. So, it's it is doable.
I think we should go on to, I think the learnings from that one was just to get over it. It'd be okay.
No. Okay. So I'll throw something into the mix then.
Okay, go for it.
So as men, you absolutely have aging, but we as women have hormones to deal with.
I agree.
Women's hormones go haywire their whole entire life. And that just adds a whole different dynamic to your training, which is which is interesting. My learning for the week, because I know you guys are desperately wanting to know what mine was.
Yeah, can't wait.
Zwift does not automatically change the resistance when you're doing an FTP test. So for those of you listening, Andy, what's an FTP test?
A functional threshold power test.
Okay, and what is it? What are you testing?
Well, you're testing what you can do within a time period normally done either with 20 minutes
Yeah,
or an hour.
yeah,
It really depends on how you like the test.
yeah,
So I prefer doing what's called a ramp test.
yeah. I don't
It's
like
a 20
them.
minute test. It just gets, they put the more
Gets harder
resistance
and
on it, gets harder and harder and
yeah.
harder. Then you can't rotate the pedal.
Yeah,
Some people like just going an hour. They'll just literally set it
just
on
to
Zwift.
see how much up.
Just what they can
power
do
you
for an
put out.
hour.
Yeah,
And there are other variations of it.
yeah.
But
So-
most people do that test though. And it's more relevant to people that do things that are related to doing efforts over that type of time period.
Okay,
It's not
getting technical
always
now.
that important.
Okay, it's getting technical now. But the
Okay.
reason I did it was because I'm doing a bit of turbo training in between outside riding.
Yeah.
And I'll do an FTP test to see what my power output is, so that Zwift can then set the right resistance on my rides that I do in the garage.
Yeah.
I did it, and I felt like I was going uphill the whole entire time for 20 minutes. I couldn't get my cadence above 60 cadency things.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster. So I now need to redo my FTP test, which is filling with dread. I'm going to do it in 6 weeks' time, I reckon.
That's fine. We'll talk offline about that one.
It was a technical error, I believe, user error. But
I'm trying
that's my learning for the week.
Oh, that's a great learning. I was just trying to relate female hormones that fluctuate through their lifespan
Oh,
to the FTP test.
oh right, yeah.
Do
you want to go there?
No,
Or
let's not go there.
today?
Not for this. We'll talk about that. That would be a very
That would
good.
be a very good one, wouldn't it?
We are going to. We'll get some couple of our members to come in
Yes,
and
that
have a
would be
chat about
super
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so that was our learnings for the week, which nearly took us a whole 10 minutes, but that's fine. It's good
Yeah,
learnings,
it's good
right?
learning.
Really, really good learnings. I love your one. I think we should use it as a caption. This week, however, we wanted to talk about the trials and tribulations of Pinnacle Gym and where you come from. We touched on it last week, a little bit about how the gym came to be, from van to the gym. And so I think starting off today, what I thought would be good was, you said something to us earlier, to Ross and I, that moving into the first gym, you had an interesting visit. So I'm kind of keen to hear, I don't know if you are, Ross, about what's the interesting visit?
I might have an inkling, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll leave Andy.
Cliffhanger.
2014, moving to the first gym.
Yeah.
Not many clients, not much going off. Obviously, we're new into the village.
Yep.
I trained a few people in there.
Were you the only gym in the village?
We were the only gym in the village, especially at one end of the village. Essentially, we went in there because we want to do marine sport performance, which I mentioned in the last episode,
Yeah.
which actually pretty much bit us in the butt for probably 6 or 7 years. People wouldn't join because they thought it was just a gym for elite sports people or
Yes.
for people that are high end of sport, which was seriously not true, which we'll talk about as another subject. But anyway, so we were in the first gym, 2 people walk in. They literally walk through
Team
the
members or
no, nobody we know at all. Didn't
Oh.
even know who they were. They just walked in. I do know who they are now.
yeah.
I knew afterwards. And they walked in and they just went straight to the office at the other end, sat on the sort of the back end of the wall, and they just looked at me and they went, "The only reason you're here is because we allowed it to happen."
Oh,
And I was like,
What?
"Okay, so who are you?" And I was
Hamburg
really
Mafia.
well. They just said that, end of the day, we run what happens in the village. I don't know whether they were like they run the village, or I don't know. Maybe with the health and fitness people of the village.
Put some out hot fuzz.
Well,
Were they involved in the procurement of the space or the business setting
no,
up or anything?
nothing at all,
So
nothing
they
at
literally
all.
just rocked up on the day and had
Well,
a
one
chat.
was in the fitness world. We found
Okay,
out.
okay.
The other person was like a chiropractic type, physio type person. Not mentioning names, but they literally looked at. Obviously, I'm a little bit more. We obviously opened it with me and Dan. I'm a little bit more emotional than he is.
Okay.
So I was a bit like, oh, this is
Were you
interesting.
coming in
I started to like dig
ready
into
to-
things
yeah.
and who are they and all that sort of stuff. Dan just looked at me and nah. He went, nah. I don't care.
Yeah.
And we just we both just got on with it. But I just thought it was quite an interesting.
How funny.
Yeah,
And you've subsequently learned who they are. Are they the ones in charge of the village?
I didn't really care.
No.
I think they just got on with their thing and we got on with our thing.
Oh.
I think that's what it is. But it was quite funny at the time.
Wow. Well, there you go. That was the interesting visit. Have they come back?
Never saw them since.
So you're obviously
And
doing
it's
something
fine.
right.
I'm sure they're having a fabulous time.
So that was cool. The other one that we spoke about or touched on a little bit last time, which I wanted to revisit today, was getting investment and moving into the new gym 5 times the size. So you're a small business owner. You've literally gone from van to your first space. And then you were like, right, did you consciously go, right, we need a bigger space. We've got too many people. How did that play out?
Yeah. I mean, if I had Dan next to me now,
He's here somewhere.
he won't do that yet. Maybe down the line. If I asked him, he would probably say, I wish we didn't do it.
Really? Okay.
At one side, he wished we
Yeah.
didn't do it. And the reason for that is because it was so much easier to manage when it was just him and me in a little box gym, in a tiny little, shed, basically. However, it was brutal, really, a bit in there, because he would do one end of the day and I would do the other end of the day. And if someone had wanted to go away on holiday, you had to do all day.
Okay.
And he never had any kids at the time, which is fine. That's allowed. He obviously has 2 kids now and he finds it challenging with 2 boys. But I had 4 children, 5 years old and under. And it was absolutely brutal. And my wife is obviously at home doing that. So he would say one end would be easier there. But on the flip side of it, the community and what we've created in here is incredible. The only thing, obviously, like I said, it didn't work was not being able to get the gym membership, standard gym memberships, because essentially most gyms run that way.
Yeah.
You just want normal people coming and doing their thing.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't ended up that way. So we've had to go down a different route, which is absolutely fine.
But you are pioneering a different way of doing gym and you are creating a community, which is what sets you apart from those more commercial gyms.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
As with any journey where you're trailblazing a new and different thing, it's hard and it's not easy.
No. So we went, okay, let's jump.
Yeah.
Let's jump. So 2017, we looked into various different people. The chap
So you actively went out to seek investment.
Yeah, because in the first gym, it was about we invested with it. He won't mind me mentioning his name, Robert Greenhouse, great guy.
Sailor, big sailor.
Yeah, big sailor, and he would admit to. I'd like to say this right now. Actually, he won't watch this, but
he will watch it.
Well, you never know.
Listen.
I might have to send him directly, but. Essentially, he invested in the first gym we wanted to do because I think deep down he just wanted 2 good guys running a gym that he could just walk into at any moment and train.
Nice.
Because he was pioneering training. Him and his brother Peter were pioneering how people trained in sport, in marine sport in the world.
Yeah, okay.
Because they both trained like animals.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The dedication was incredible to watch them train. And I think that's really what they wanted.
Yeah, that's super cool.
But that's
what
fine.
A great motive to start a business.
There's no problem. It was absolutely
And it
great.
worked for you.
He worked in, and he walked away. He wanted to do his thing. We wanted to move into here, and we went out to try and find an investor. Ended up being 2 though.
How did those 2 come about?
I think the interesting thing you have to say in anything in life is if you don't know, you don't know. And I didn't know. And I didn't know what really investing was, because even though we did in the last gym, that was investment as such. Not really. It was a different scenario.
Okay.
This place was a lot more risk towards it. So we went out with 1 investor, ended with 2.
Okay.
And I would hand-heartedly say that if you as a business are looking for investment, make sure you're going into that new objective or that new business. Make sure you know what the alignment is, I say, what the dream is together to do.
Okay. So I'm hearing you went out and you ended up with 2 investors. Great. Did you just choose them because they were the only 2? And you were kind of like, we need the money, we want to do it, let's go.
One trained in the gym already.
Okay.
And he said, look, I'll be up for it.
Yeah.
And then another friend who was in the gym, he said his mate was looking to get involved in it. And also, another thing to think about in business like this is when people invest, some people are investing for obviously various reasons. One reason is to get EIS relief, tax relief.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
So some will make you believe that, they're investing their life savings into it.
Yeah.
Whether that's the case or not, I don't know.
No.
And what their objective is.
Yeah.
So it ended up being 2.
So I'm interested in how the 2 became the 2, but also then the due diligence that you did, or as the case maybe didn't do, because it was your first time with a real investment. So I think that's another piece of any investment, is understanding what you're going into, the relationship, making sure your goals and your objectives are aligned and all of that good stuff. So did you have any other investors, or it was just those 2 and you're like,
just
let's
those
go?
2.
Okay.
Well, it was one that became 2, and they both put in X amount of money for X amount of shares within the business.
And that was good. That was what you wanted.
That was great. Yeah, at the time it was absolutely great. We opened up, but obviously people's dreams and alignment and what they actually want out of it change over time.
Yeah.
And one thing I can categorically say: make sure if you are investing or have investors come into your business, make sure they're the right person. That actually aligned with you and what your dream is, because
but you wouldn't have known that at the time, though, right?
Absolutely clueless.
This is a hindsight learning for you and for Dan in terms of who you let into your business.
Yeah, I mean, I would speak to Dan. I mean, at the time, Ross and Jamie came into the gym as well, so we're in now. Okay, so the investment's been done. We're in. We're looking for members. We've got 2 great guys that have come over from other gym. Now that was an interesting one, because we decided as a Pinnacle that we would not franchise it, but have 2 other guys in another gym. And Ross and Jamie were working in another gym, sort of 10-minute drive away.
Yeah.
And again, that was another learning, because they'd gone into an environment with 2 other people who'd bought and leased out and created this gym, but actually didn't really work out that way, did it? It was quite challenging, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
and he spent a little bit of time there.
Let's hear about it. I'd love to hear a little bit about your sort of perspective on it. So
Andy's giving me the eye.
Just remember, okay,
PG version.
just need to make sure it's PG.
How to win friends and influence people 101.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep eye contact with Andy whilst I'm telling this story, so I keep on the right track. What do you want to know?
Well, so what were the challenges for you?
Challenges, I think, like one Andy sort of touched on, is making sure everyone's rowing in the same direction, and not just about in terms of business acumen, but also I think personality. If you can have personalities that align, is a big help.
It's in my experience, it's probably one of the bigger factors more than anything else. If your vision doesn't align and the way you work together doesn't align, it's very.
I think half the battle is getting on.
Yeah.
Just from my own experience from that.
Yeah.
It started off their sort of mission statement wasn't really about, because they had other businesses. This was kind of, they saw what we had here in this marina and thought, I want a piece of that. They'd kind of come from the sort of leisure side of things, the leisure gym, in a country club, but they wanted something a bit more, not high performance, because we cater for that, something a bit more, I don't want to say functional, because I hate that whole functional fitness type term, but something just a bit more raw and to the point, not so fluffy. Let's just call it that. If you call a leisure center fluffy. And so it wasn't really their main business. So they came at us with the whole mission statement of we don't necessarily want to make a profit, but we want to have this as a business. So it was all a little bit confusing. And that was one of the things we kind of like Jamie and I had to get our head around. It was like, well, we're here to do a job, but you don't want to make profit. But that quickly changed as soon as, you know, money starts coming in. So again, it was just dealing with the biggest, if we're going to, you know, stay on the topic of sort of what we learned, if I sort of look back then, it was looking to sort of like, my learning was like managing people from that, and managing people that maybe didn't know what they wanted.
Yeah.
And
being
trying
clear
to,
on expectations,
yeah, I
setting
think,
those out in the offset.
yeah, it was,
and rechecking them.
Yeah, let's put it in a bracket then, just to keep it simple. It was more of learning like what not to do, or not, or how not to do something, rather than how to do something.
Those are great learnings.
That's probably
the
biggest kind of take I can take from it.
It's interesting for me. So from a coach's perspective and from a business perspective, that, you know, the owner perspective, both of you had very similar experiences, and that just means, you know, how important it is to make sure that you do that. Have you taken that into your life going forward, your 34 years or sum total?
Yeah, I tend to, from that experience in itself, it probably taught me to not just look at what people are doing well and learn from it, but actually look at what people aren't doing so well and learn from that. And I probably learn more from that in other people's mistakes, so that then I don't have, like, hopefully I then don't make those same mistakes. So yeah.
So what happened? We've spoken about how they came on board. You got the space. You got new coaches coming in. So on the surface, it all looks great.
Yeah, I think going back to how we got involved in this business and what we've done, I would say that going back 10 years, when I would say 15 years actually, when I first got into coaching and left the British Army, is that I used to get really emotional about things that people inflicted on me. But actually, I believe now that everything that's painful or what people do to me in my life, and I've had some horrendous things happen, they're actually learnings now, and I don't get emotional about it now. Having the investor leave, bless him, you know, he passed having a massive accident on a boat that was hit the sailing community massively. What a lovely human being. He left because he just wanted to do something else with the money. Another person wanted to leave because they had their own reasons.
Yeah.
And
that's okay. All of that's okay, right?
And that's fine. And that's absolutely fine. And do you know, at the time, everything that was inflicted on me and how that happened was, I would say, probably one of the worst things that I feel that happened to me emotionally in my life. But actually now I look at it as in, actually, it taught me a lesson. And I think about that every day now, actually. The 17-year-old that told me, do I care? And the other one that actually, things happen. People will try to hurt you in your life, but you just have to learn from it and go forward from it and not dwell on it.
I think that's such a wonderful message of resilience and growth mindset and all the things that we often speak about when, you know, you're teaching kids on how to deal with these things. That things are going to happen in life, aren't they? And at the time, you might not know why or what they're happening, but if you can learn from it and you can look back at it now and go, do you know what? This did happen, and we've come out on the other side.
Yeah. I think it's interesting on resilience, because there's a load of them out there, resilience coaches, aren't there?
Oh yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And again, it goes back to the thing is, I do question some of it, but just let people get on with what they're doing. It's no problem. And you can coach resilience, of course you can, but I think that you only learn true resilience through things that have occurred in your life or been inflicted on you, or something you've had to navigate that you've never had to navigate before, and you've had to ask someone for help.
Yeah.
Because you can't get everything in life, can you?
No. Yeah.
That's just not true.
I think it's super. I mean, I was always inspired by your story, but I am even more inspired by, because I didn't understand or know any of this that had happened behind the scenes. You walk into a gym like this, and you think, oh, yeah, it's really well established. They obviously know what they're doing. Life is good. It's super, super inspiring. We've not even touched on the challenges that the gym has had, which I want to talk about. And then also how that translates into your life as a professional sportsman. and Ross, your life as coach, ex-professional sportsman, and all of those things that come with it as well, which I think is super cool. But we are sort of coming up to the end of time. It's been a fascinating conversation. I didn't expect to go that deep today. Did you?
Yeah, it was great. I think. Well, it's like podcasting it. We don't really know, do we?
No.
Until we
We don't
explore that.
Although we talk about what we want to talk about, we don't actually plan what we're going to talk about too much, because we want it to be a bit more free flow and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what we've created and what we chat about now will flow into our next podcast.
So on that note, thank you both so much for your time today. Been really, really good. You've been listening to the Pinnacle Pod, and look forward to hearing more stories with you next time.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers.